a lot of colors today, okay? This is more colors than you normally get.
We're going into the thick. And you're gonna wear black and like dark green.
I ain't about that Skittle life, dude. We got Sour Patch for that.
I need a fox red. These two reds, they just don't.
Welcome everybody, we've got an exciting dissected today. We're gonna be introducing 3 new bikes from Norco in their VLT line. The Fluid, the Sight, and the big burly Norco Range. Stay tuned as we dissect these 3 new bikes. Now this is a pretty exciting video. Normally in our dissected features, we just highlight one individual product, and today we are helping Norco launch 3 new VLT bikes. I know you are sad, we are sad, Norco is sad. We couldn't have these bikes in time for our 2021 e-bike shootout, but nevertheless, they are here now. We have been riding them and we're gonna continue riding them, so let's get to see what each of these bikes is about. First up here to my right, we've got the 130 mil Fluid VLT. This is a new bike that's gonna be designed for kind of more that newer rider, I guess that rider who doesn't need 160, 150 or more travel. Someone who's looking to get into an e-bike for sub $5,000 and just enjoy exploring the trails and having fun getting out deeper, farther, and seeing what an e-bike can do for them. Next up, we have the Sight VLT. This is gonna be kind of the bread and butter bike. I think 160, 150, it's gonna do everything pretty dang well. Moving up to the big boy, we've got the Norco Range VLT. Now that is a 180, 170 millimeter e-bike. It's aggressive. It is burly, it is a beast of a bike. And if you've got the terrain that warrants that bike, you're gonna be in for a treat. As riders, have you been out on the trails and come across people that are like, hey, you don't have to lie, we're off the camera, like, are you actually enjoying that thing? Or like, how has it been as pro riders getting on e-bikes?
I think the most apologies you have to do are just like passing people that are like suffering climbing up on the way, and you always have like a little bit of guilt, like, oh, sorry, like I feel a little bit bad, but I also am like, well, I got 6 laps in the time it took you to do 1, and like getting better at biking at the same time. And like, I personally love riding them.
It kind of brings the skill level to more of a neutral, you know, like, or even like the fitness level, right? You know, you're riding with a different crew of people, you know, and you can all kind of get to the top at the same time, and you know, it's all, you know, it's a lot more balanced.
So right off the bat, one of the things you're gonna notice is this doesn't really look like a Norco anymore. They've gone to a completely different suspension design. One of the reasons that they did that was they wanted to design a bike that had an easily removable battery and shift the position of that Shimano EP8 drive unit up and forward, which is gonna increase clearance, which is a huge benefit and something that we're really excited to see more brands hopefully start doing in the future. Not only did they make the battery easily removable, but they are selling this bike without a battery. So what that means is when you purchase this bike, you are gonna select the battery you want to buy, or batteries, depending on your budget and what you envision your riding schedule to be. Essentially, the battery options are going to be 540, 720, and 909 or 900, which is the largest battery, I think, that is out for a Class 1 e-bike from most competitors that we've ever seen. So definitely gonna give you the option to have the most power and range when you need it and not sacrifice the weight and performance when you don't. 540 is $749. The 720 watt hour battery is $999, and that massive 909 battery is $1199. So that is definitely something to consider when you are looking to buy a bike. You know, the price tag on the bikes, I guess, is dropped and reduced because you are not buying the battery off the bat, but it's still a hefty investment. Like this Sight C1, which we have here, is $85.99 without a battery. So depending on what you want to do, again, you're going to need to add anywhere from $750 up to $1,200 onto that to pick your battery. 540 watt-hour battery. Their rider in eco mode in technical, steep, challenging British Columbia terrain was able to get 6,890 feet of elevation with 23.5 miles. The 720 battery got them 9,186 feet with 31 miles, and the 900 got 11,483 feet with 39 miles. So you can see there's a big difference in mileage. Obviously, your weight, your terrain, tire selection, I mean, there's gonna be a number of variables, but you're able to get a lot of miles out of that 900 if you need to. So the Fluid is available in aluminum only. It starts at $4,199. The A1, which we have here, is $47.99. Again, $140, $130. This bike is designed to be kind of that entry-level, newer rider, someone who doesn't need something super aggressive, really top-of-the-line components. This bike is kind of the, I don't know, the underdog, if you want to call it that, in the fight, and it's impressed our testers a lot, and I think with some component suspension upgrades, namely, you could get a really solid 130, 140 bike out of this thing. I'm glad that we spent time on this bike. It was definitely the bike that we looked at and we're like, it had the 35 fork and, you know, some non-group Shimano brakes, and it didn't inspire us to get out and ride like the other two did. And when we got out on this first ride, it was like, oh wow, this thing's actually really good. Like, granted, it's not the top of the line bike. It doesn't have top of the line components, and there are some definite weaknesses when you get out and start pushing hard on these components. But this bike surprised us a lot. And I think this is a great starting point if you want to get into the e-bike world, and you're willing to drop that kind of cash and you don't need this much travel. Fork and shock upgrade on this bike, followed by brake and some cockpit upgrades, and you've got a pretty killer 140, 130 bike. Like, this thing is definitely capable and really impressed us a lot. Like all the other bikes in Norco's lineup, it takes advantage of their ride-aligned ethos. Size-specific features like seat tube angles, reach isn't the only thing that changes on these things. You got suspension kinematics that change. Everything from that ride-aligned concept is still applied to even this entry-level bike, and it's a really cool feature. On the trail, it felt very well balanced. It's right in the ballpark for where a trail bike needs to be, and I think they did a good job making this thing capable without being sluggish or over the top for riders not looking to push really hard.
We're on our third generation e-bike already, and it felt like there were just these things that just needed to be refined, you know, whether it be ground clearance, adding that magnet to the rotor, refining some of the cable routing, but you know, keeping up with EP8 motors, and then obviously battery choice was a big one. So yeah, it's been exciting, but it's also been a lot of work for our team too, to kind of keep up with this and keep evolving these bikes quickly.
Moving on to the Sight. This bike is going to be available in either carbon or aluminum. The bike's going to start at $51.99, go all the way up to the C1 at $85.99. Geometry again on this bike is pretty much right where you'd expect it to be for Norco. They are an aggressive BC brand. 485 reach on the size large, stack height 634, 64-degree head tube angle, 1292 wheelbase, and the seat tube angle on the large is 77.7 degrees. Again, with that ride-aligned concept, that is going to change as the bike sizes change, and just work on maintaining center of balance and rider comfort, maximum traction, and distribution of weight. This version, obviously being top of the line, is very solid Fox factory suspension, DT Swiss E1700 wheels. All the bikes in the line have E-specific components. So you've got E-rated forks, E-rated spokes and free hubs. There's a lot of heavy-duty components that are designed to last and be durable on this e-bike application. We've got SRAM Code RSC brakes, SRAM GX Eagle shifter, and an XO1 derailleur. It's a really solid spec overall. Obviously, it's their top of the line model, so you're gonna get the best of everything out, and it definitely shows. Probably gonna be some people wondering why there's not a 38 on here. Obviously, weight, intended use, applications, whatever Norco's design team was choosing. We didn't really find ourselves wishing for a 38 that much. There were a few instances where we thought it would be nice, but again, this is their aggressive trail, kind of all mountain bike. It's not this big mountain free ride huck machine. So, you know, we understand it. Some riders might want to do an upgrade, but as it sits, this bike is ready to charge and be pushed very hard. The range, 180, 170, 29er. This thing is ready to eat. $83.99 for this top of the line spec C1, starting at $52.99 for the aluminum A2. Obviously, then you've got your battery investment. But top of the line bike, just like the Sight, Fox factory suspension. This time we are up into the 38. We've got XT Shimano brakes, Shimano drivetrain on this one instead of the SRAM like you will find here on the Sight, which we do enjoy more in terms of just reliability and power. So that's definitely a plus for us. We've got the coil sprung rear end with that DHX2 custom tuned rear shock. Geometry on this bike, very solid and capable. It's got a 63-degree head tube angle, which is 1 degree slacker. The reach is actually 10 millimeters shorter on the range at 475, which is my favorite number, and a lot of our other testers as well. You've got the 76.9 degree seat tube angle, so a little bit slacker than the Sight. 1301 for the wheelbase. Solid bike, stable, really, really stable at speed. Surprisingly poppy. We did weigh all these bikes, and obviously this one was, I think, the heaviest at right around 56 pounds with the 900 watt-hour battery in it. It still jumps pretty dang well. This shock tune is really, really spot on the money. It's poppy, it's lively, definitely a lot of fun. The weight is the weight. You're not gonna get around that, so you know, lifting it up over small stuff is still gonna require some effort, but when you get a lip or a little nub to bump off of, this thing will definitely pop. It doesn't ride like a tank like some other bikes in this category that we've ridden. We definitely would say it's a little bit more on that kind of playful, snappy side, especially if you size down on that battery and drop, you know, that 3-pound weight. But overall, a very competent, capable bike, but it's definitely something you're gonna want to ride on burlier, gnarlier trails, a little bit steeper terrain, and that's where this thing is gonna shine.
I'd ride it anywhere and everywhere, right? Even if it's just mellow terrain. It's just like that, like just that depth. It's kind of, it doesn't really have to be the most extreme terrain. It's kind of more like if you're riding aggressive, it's just like how deep do you want to go into the travel into things, you know? And that's where like that bike just works, you know? So it's, yeah.
Well, folks, those are the 3 new VLT bikes from Norco.
Did you bottom out?
The better question is, what didn't I bottom out on?
Once again, our dissected videos are not intended to be long-term reviews. This is sort of just the fastest chance we get to launch these products with the help of the brand and get you the information you need. So rest assured, we are going to continue testing and riding all of these bikes, passing them around to our crew, and getting some major miles in before we release our long-term review. Again, the new Sight and all of the VLTs we've ridden so far definitely perform very, very well. They are a much livelier, more sensitive and supple riding suspension platform. You know, I use the term platform loosely, right? Essentially it is similar. They just have changed some of the kinematics, shock placement, etc. But it is a much better riding bike in our opinion. So definitely thumbs up there, awesome job. Range, definitely a fun bike. That coil shock we talked about, that tune, kinematics all across the board. This new horizontal shock design definitely lets these bikes ride very, very well. The weight with the 900 batteries might be an issue for some folks, including ourselves. They are definitely a little bit on the heavy side, and you can feel that battery in there, but we're gonna definitely experiment with some of the smaller sizes and see just how much livelier they feel on the trail. Impressed, very, very impressed. We weren't expecting it out of this bike. Sight, definitely an improvement over the previous generation, and the new Range, solid. Definitely a capable bike if you're looking for that big, long travel 29er aggressive e-bike. So thanks Norco for helping us get these bikes early. Thank you to you guys for watching and being engaged and letting brands know that we bring value to you guys with these dissected features and our reviews. So leave a comment down below, ask any questions, leave your input and thoughts on these bikes, and we'll do our best to get back to every one of you guys. And if we don't have the answer, we'll reach out to Norco and let you know what they have to say. Thank you guys for watching, and we see you out on the trails.